let's get to the big developing story of the day. Round 4 of talks between farmer groups, at least 30 farmer organizations, and the central government ended after 7.5 hours today in the national capital, and the talks were inconclusive. No solution has been reached so far, but there are signs of a thaw. Agricultural Minister Narendra Singh Tomar came out after the talks ended and said that they were contemplating changing a few things in the laws that the farmers were upset about. Listen in.
सभी आमंत्रित श्रेणी की किसान यूनियन ने इस बैठक में भाग लिया। बहुत ही सौहार्द वातावरण में चर्चा हुई। यूनियंस के लोगों ने अपना पक्ष रखा और सरकार ने भी अपना पक्ष रखा। 2-3 दौर की चर्चा और आज की चर्चा में सामान्य तौर पर कुछ बिंदु निकाले गए हैं जिन पर किसान यूनियन की चिंता मुख्य रूप से है। हम लोग प्रारंभ से ये बात कह रहे थे कि भारत सरकार किसानों के हितों के प्रति पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है और आने वाले कल में रहेगी। सरकार का कोई ईगो नहीं है और सरकार हर विषय पर पूरा खुले मन से किसान यूनियन के साथ चर्चा कर रही थी। किसान यूनियन और किसानों की चिंता है कि जो नया एक्ट आया है उससे एपीएमसी वो ख़त्म हो जाएगी। भारत सरकार इस बात पर विचार करेगी कि एपीएमसी सशक्त हो और एपीएमसी का उपयोग और बढ़े। जहाँ तक नए एक्ट का सवाल है उसमें एपीएमसी परिधि के बाहर प्राइवेट मंडियों का प्रावधान है, तो प्राइवेट मंडियां आएंगी, लेकिन प्राइवेट मंडी और जो एपीएमसी एक्ट के अंतर्गत बनी हुई मंडियां हैं उन दोनों में कर की समानता हो।
Let me just focus on the key points that the agricultural minister talked about that would be contemplated by the central government. So one, of course, is taxation outside the APMC and the government mandis. They will bring equal taxes, or they will think about bringing equal taxes in the private mandis as well, so that there's a level playing field. This was a key concern because otherwise the APMCs get killed, and that's what these farmer groups were concerned about. Another key concern is that those who are trading in the private markets will also have to have licenses like in the mandis and the APMC markets. The third point is that where will the arbitration take place if there is an issue between corporates or private buyers and farmers. So far it's supposed to be at the door of the SDM, but they will contemplate removing this condition and letting the courts also in and be an arbitrator if there is any kind of disagreement in contract. So some very key points coming in there which could lead to a sort of middle road. Of course, they've also gone ahead to say that MSPs will be guaranteed. It remains to be seen if this will be written into the law as an amendment, which is what farmers want as some sort of assurance, concrete assurance. To speak more on this, I'm joined now by Siraj Hussain, former Agricultural Secretary. I'm also speaking today with Professor Narender Pani from the NIAS. Welcome to the both of you and thank you for speaking with us today. Mr. Hussain, let me just get your take on where the talks have reached so far. This protest has been going on for over a week. This is the 4th round of talks. There will be one more round on Saturday. But do you think that the government is beginning to figure out how to get these farmers or this section of farmers on board?
I think there is some progress as the media reports indicate. However, I must tell you that this taxation, same level of taxation in private mandis and APMC mandis is not much of a headway. The reason is that the APMC bypass law said that in the trade area, which is the area outside the APMC, there will be no tax. So the number of private mandis in the country is very limited. It is only Maharashtra where some 55 odd private mandis are functioning. In other states, their number is not even in 2 digits. And therefore, saying that this is a great progress would not be correct. As far as the assurance on MSP is concerned, that is a major headway, I would think, if the government can give in writing. If the Department of Food and Public Distribution can issue an order in writing that MSP support MSP procurement for some crops will continue as earlier. I think it will be a good progress, even though I must say that in the past we have seen even constitution being amended when a party has majority in parliament. So an executive order can only take you this far.
Professor Pani, the sense in the beginning of these talks and this mediation, when the farmers started marching towards the capital, was that the government was not taking it very easily. We remember the barricades and the water cannons and all of that. There was sort of a hope that it would just fizzle out and blow over. It doesn't seem to blow over in any case. Will some concessions have to be made, in your view, to really put an end to the standoff and actually start implementing these new laws?
Well, it depends on what is the nature of those concessions. The fact is there is a fundamental difference between the government and the farmers. The government is treating the entire agricultural sector as a set of commodities where you need to have free competition so that you improve efficiency, where the poorer farmers or the weaker farmers get left behind and the successful ones lead increased production. And bulk of the logic of the three amendments or three laws, if you like, is based on that. For the farmers, on the other hand, they are very, very concerned about the uncertainty such competition brings in. It's all very well to talk about successful farmers reaching out, getting global markets, but for the bulk of the farmers, the vast majority of the farmers, their fear is what happens if they lose out in that competition, as they will. Right? Even assuming for a moment that the competition is perfectly fair. And then you have the case of the laws, the details of the laws, where the competition is far from being fair. Because you must not forget that Punjab is the basis of, has an illiteracy rate, if you like, of about 25%, even in the 2011 census. That's about the level which you're talking about. You're going to farmers who don't know how to read and write and then working out technicalities in documents and saying, you go here, you go there. It is just not a meaningful situation as far as the farmers are concerned. Whatever you might do and tweak a line here or a line there. The third thing that we are not recognizing adequately has got nothing not directly to do with it. It comes from the farmers, but the main impact will be felt elsewhere. And that is, you must remember, Punjab and Haryana and to a certain extent Western Uttar Pradesh are the source of your procurement. If you remove that and make it into private sector completely, you're going to have serious problems in keeping your public distribution system going. And this is particularly ironic because just a few months ago, you used a substantial part of that procurement stock to deal with the crisis, the COVID, the stimulus package, or to provide a stimulus package after the COVID-19 crisis. So if you're at a time when you've just had the benefit of a procurement, you're turning a blind eye to it. And that is something that which is very, very short-sighted. I think dismissing the procurement just after you have used it at a critical point in India's sort of food history is very difficult for someone to understand.
Mr. Hussain, how would you react to the arguments that Professor Pani has put forward? They seem to suggest that the agri laws aren't really solving any issue, in fact are creating new problems.
Actually, as far as the government is concerned, the argument is that these laws do not change the situation or the policy on procurement at MSP. So that is the legal position, because these laws do not per se touch upon the policy of procurement. However, the farmers fear, and rightly so, because of the recommendations of various committees set up by the government, because of the CACP recommendations, because of various reports of Niti Aayog, the farmers feel that the government may dilute the PDS and the National Food Security Act itself, and the government may switch over to direct benefit transfer of food subsidy, and in that case, the procurement will go down. That is the fear driving this agitation. So Dr. Pani is correct that during the lockdown period, the food stocks were used by the government, and when people lost their livelihood, they could at least get 10 kilogram of food grains per person per month. So it did come out as a big help. Now the government has said that it is willing to issue an executive order. So I think that is some progress, and I do not know whether farmers will accept it and how long will that continue, because at the same time, I must say that there is a need to reduce cultivation of rice and cultivation of sugarcane in certain water-stressed regions of the country.
You know, Professor Pani, looking at it from the point of view of where more corporatized procurement comes in, which is supposed to, on paper, help your smaller farmers. Will any major corporate want to get into this mess right now when things are so unclear between the government and the farmers and how these laws will actually pan out, especially without the support and backing of the state governments?
Yeah, there is a lot that is intriguing about this. For instance, there is apparently a superficial matter of the buyers or the corporates being referred to as sponsors in one of the acts when they are spoken about. They refer entirely as sponsors. I don't quite understand why that is the case. But, you know, if I'm in a time when conspiracy theories are going all around, one can always argue that all that the government is doing is trying to weaken the earlier commitment to corporate social responsibility by allowing them to claim that this is also something they can do as sponsors. But that is largely in the realm of I think, conspiracy theory at the moment, and we can leave it there. But the larger issue that comes in as far as small farmers are concerned is that whatever mechanism, I mean, you move from SDM to the civil court, which is a very positive step. But even if you move to a civil court, the access of small farmers to those courts is very, very poor. Right? You will need people to mediate. If I'm an illiterate farmer and I'm going to need to deal with the civil court, I will need what is being called a middleman of one, either from the corporate sector or from the local farming community. And these are issues that are very, very unfair, which is why the argument that you're making it a free market also falls apart, because this is not a free market. A free market, everybody must get equal access to. Right? If that is not the case, and some are going to be at a disadvantage, it's going to be particularly bad when those who are at a disadvantage are the most vulnerable. So I think the issue really is that, yes, the small farmer needs a fixed price. The small farmer needs security, must know what price he's going to get at the time when he sows his crop. But that requires a forward market, an effective functioning forward market. It doesn't require throwing them into the hands of much more powerful negotiators on the other side, whether they are large Indian corporates or whether they are international or those who are linked to international markets.
Absolutely. You know, the fact is that the APMC and the Mandi system hasn't worked 100% either. There are endemic issues with Indian agriculture. But a middle ground should be found sooner than later to really make sure that everyone who is a stakeholder in the system feels secure and confident of only going forward. Thank you so much, Professor Pani and Siraj Hussain, for joining us on The Big Story this evening.